Man City have lost 4 games in a row for the first time in Pep Guardiola's tenure. His latest defeat came at the Amex, where Brighton came back to win 2-1. So, where did it all go wrong for Pep's side this time? Hello and welcome back to Inmr, where in today's podcast I'm going to explain the tactics behind Brighton's impressive comeback against what Fabian Hurzeler called the best team in the world. So let's get straight into it with City's tactics in the first half. Initially, their pressing and effective offside trap limited Brighton. Hurzeler's 4-2-2 in possession focused on finding Danny Welbeck and Jorginho Rutter between the lines, all runners behind the defence, but City's pressing and compactness of their shape nullified that. But at half-time, Hurzeler tweaked Brighton's formation and brought on Carlos Baleba off the bench, moving Jack Hinchelwood higher up the pitch to attack in a 4-3-3. Hurzeler's substitutions in the second half transformed the game, bringing on players like Matt O'Reilly and João Pedro, whose energy helped Brighton take advantage of City's vulnerabilities. Brighton's new shape allowed them to have an extra player between the lines, which City struggled to deal with, especially given their lack of aggression. Hurzeler's side could comfortably find runners in behind City's defence, with the additional player in midfield providing support. On screen you can see that Baleba has time on the ball, which easily allows him to find Mitoma's run in behind. Meanwhile, the advanced positions of O'Reilly and Rutter mean that Brighton have more players to attack the cross. So Purvis Estupiñán makes the overlapping run, Mitoma finds him, and then Estupiñán can send that cross into the box. Rutter's header was off target, but it was a sign of more to come from Brighton. In this example, the high positioning of both O'Reilly and João Pedro puts Kyle Walker in a 1v2 situation against Pedro and Mitoma. City's lack of pressure against the ball meant that Van Hecke could directly exploit that advantage. He found João Pedro's run in behind the defence, but again failed to convert and trouble Ederson. City playing a high defensive line without an effective press to limit Brighton's passing options was a recipe for disaster, and eventually it did lead to the equalizer. Here Haaland isn't in a position to put Van Hecke under any sort of pressure, so he can take his time, pick a pass, as Brighton overload City's back four. The presence of O'Reilly and João Pedro up the pitch makes it a 5v4 in the last line, and Pedro's run drags Walker inside and Van Hecke plays the ball to Mitoma out wide. Mitoma then tries to find João Pedro's run into the penalty area. The initial cross is cleared, but the left winger collects the loose ball before finding Welbeck near the penalty spot. And then yes, it was a bit scrappy, but João Pedro emerged with the ball and scored the equaliser. Brighton's change in shape and City's confused out-of-possession approach also created different spaces, which Brighton attacked effectively. The lack of pressing, paired with City's 2 holding midfielders trying to block passing lanes into Brighton's central midfielders, allowed Van Hecke to play line-splitting passes. Here you can see Haaland is late to press Van Hecke again, and with Bernardo Silva focusing on blocking the passing lane to O'Reilly, there's a direct pass available to play straight into Welbeck, who resets the ball to an unmarked Carlos Baleba. On the other side of the pitch, João Pedro and Mitoma once again are overloading Walker, and with the ball at Baleba's feet, Brighton can exploit that advantage. João Pedro's movement forces Walker to defend the space between him and his centre-back, which allows Baleba to switch the play towards Mitoma down the left wing. And in this example from earlier in the game, you can see that Ilkay Gundogan is neither pressing Van Hecke nor blocking the passing lane to Rutter, which makes it a simple ball for the Brighton centre-back. Meanwhile, on the other side, Hinchelwood is making a run behind the defence that attracts Walker and frees Mitoma. As a result, Rutter can find his left winger between the lines, with Estupiñán providing an additional threat down the left wing. Hinchelwood's earlier movement forces Walker to drop deeper and move infield, which distances him from Estupiñán when Mitoma plays the ball out wide. Estupiñán has time to find a cross, where Hinchelwood attacks, and really I thought he should have scored it. It was straight at Ederson, but it was a great chance, showing that threat that was being caused just by pulling Kyle Walker out of position. Brighton kept combining through the same spaces, and the movement of Pedro and O'Reilly proved to be too much for City's unorganised shape. Here Kevin De Bruyne is trying to block the passing lane to João Pedro, while Mateo Kovacic is moving towards the same player. A defensive mistake opens a route to Welbeck, who squares the ball to Pedro behind City's midfield. Again, Brighton are trying to overload City's fullback as they combine through the centre. This time it's Brajan Gruda and Matt O'Reilly overloading Rico Lewis. João Pedro then finds the run of O'Reilly, who scores the winner on his Premier League debut. After the game, Hurzeler said, "In possession, we were more patient in the second half. In the first half, we played too many vertical balls and had too many easy giveaways. When you're more patient, the gaps were opening more. Then we had the right timings to create these passes where we get in the spaces." Overall, it was a very clever change that Hurzeler made, and he's just showing again why age is just a number for him. The youngest manager in the league, but he continues to provide shock after shock against some of the league's best sides. For City, they've got a difficult schedule coming up now. They've got games against Tottenham, Liverpool, a Champions League clash against Feyenoord. They really do have little room for error as they wait for key players to return to fitness. That is where I'm going to end today's podcast, but there are plenty of others you can go and listen to. For extra content, be sure to check out my website, that's inmrfootball.co.uk. On there you can find match reports, live blogs, club updates and so much more. And if that's not enough, Inmr is also on X and Instagram, so you can go and follow me on both of those platforms for more daily football updates. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.